everybody, it's Miss Mac with a quick video to talk to you about functions. What is a function and how do you know if a relation is a function or not? So the first statement on here is really important. It says a function is a relation where each input has at most one output. So this is a really important thing to understand. Basically what that tells us is that every x can have at most one y. That's really what a function is. Every x can have at most one y. So when we go to decide if something is a function or not, there's kind of two ways we can do that. One way over here is if we look at a table, ordered pair, or mapping. If we do use one of those methods or one of those representations to decide if something's a function, basically all we have to do is visually look at the numbers and make sure, like this says, that each x has only one y. That's all we have to look for. And we're going to do an example in a minute. The second way we can tell if something is a function is using the graph, and we use what we call the vertical line test. And remember, a vertical line goes straight up and down. The vertical line test says if you can draw a vertical line anywhere in the graph and it hits the graph only one time at most, then we know that the graph is going to be a function. So we'll look at a couple of examples. On this first example that we're going to look at, what I did is I took the same relation. So I took this relation right up here. I took this relation right here, and I wrote it all four ways: ordered pairs, the table, the graph, and the mapping. If you notice, all of those representations have a 2, -3 in them. They all have a 5, 7 in them. They all have a -8, 4, and they all have a 5, -6. So basically what I did is I took this one relation and I did it all four representations. I showed you all of those. So I want to start with the first method, kind of looking at the numbers. So if I look at the ordered pairs and I inspect, I see I have an x of a 2, a 5, a -8, and another 5. Right away, I see that I have these two 5s, and notice I have two different y values. Right there, that tells me that this is not a function. We can also see that if we look over here in the table. Right away, I can inspect it and I just look for those duplicating x's and I see that I have two different y's there. That means it's not a function. And likewise, I can look over here at the far right and I can look right here at this 5 and it has two different arrows going to two different numbers. That tells me that this is not a function. So using any of those three methods, you can look at it and just see, hey, this is not a function. The fourth thing, if we look at the graph, the other method that I told you could use is basically what we do is we draw a vertical line through any point. So anywhere in the graph. What you notice, if I drew that straight, let me draw that again. If I draw that straight, you can see that that line actually hits two times. So because it hits those two different points, that means it's not a function. Okay? Now, let's take a look at another example. In this example, again, we're determining function or not. And again, I have the same relation written using all four representations. I don't know why this is being so slow. There we go. And so if I take a look at this up here, I can see that I have all these ordered pairs. So I'm going to right away look at my x's. 3, -2, 4, -5. Those are all different. So I don't worry about anything else. I know this has got to be a function. None of the x's repeat with a different y. If I look over here at this table, I see a 3, a -2, a 4, and a -5. None of those repeat, so I know it's got to be a function. And then if I look over at the mapping, over here at the mapping, each one of these numbers has only one arrow coming off of it. That means it's a function. And then lastly, if I take the graph and I draw a vertical line all the way through the graph at any one of these points, it only hits one time. And so because that's the case, that means that this thing is a function. So hopefully that's a good review for you to remember exactly how you know if something is a function or not. And you can use any of those methods. If you don't like the form that it's in, if you have a mapping and you prefer a table, write it as a table. You can go from form to form to be able to determine that. Thanks. Have a great one. Bye-bye.